Hello, and welcome to another discussion in the SF Masterworks reading group we've got going on here. We read one book every month from the SF Masterworks series published by Golangs in publication order, in the order they were published as Masterworks. Today's discussion is going to be on A Case of Conscience by James Blish, who is a repeat author here. I think it was one of the first few books we had read for this series, and now he's back with another one. So it'll be fun to discuss what we think of him. Cities in Flight, the last book, was not very popular with the read along group, so this one should be interesting. If you'd like to join us, we do all our planning on the Patreon forum. We have the next three books coming up for what month are we in? March. So this is the book for March. So April will be Centauri Device by John Harrison, M. John Harrison. Thank you. And then Dr. Blood Money by Philip K. Dick for May, and Nonstop by Brian Aldiss for June. Those will be our books. If you'd like to read any of those with us and talk about it with us here, please check out the Patreon forum. With me, of course, we have the usual group of friends. Jared, could you kick off the introductions, please?
Sure. I'm Jared. I run the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and I also am on the Patreon forums, and I talk comics and film there with Steve. That's a lot of fun.
Very nice. Layla?
I'm Layla Ghoshi. I am a writer and reader, teacher, and I edit a magazine called Ballady Magazine.
Excellent. And Susanna?
Hello, I'm Susanna Imaginariu, and I'm a writer and the author of Timelessness and other weird stuff.
Nice. and your book is called Weird God Stuff. So,
Why?
And I'm Varsha. I run the YouTube channel Reading by the Rainy Mountains, where mostly I just post discussions like this one. That's everything. All the introductions done. So let's do high-level thoughts. What did we think of this book? Maybe we'll go the other way around. Susanna?
Oh, I better go last because my high-level thoughts probably involve some swearing, and I don't want you to get penalized.
Okay. All right, then Layla, then.
Here, I was actually looking for a foreword I had read by James Blish about this book because I realized it's not in the version I purchased on Kindle. And that's a long way of starting to explain what I thought about the book, because when I read the foreword online, it sounded like he was afraid of what he had written he was afraid of being criticized for what he had written. So I hope I can find it before the end of our conversation. And so it did make me curious to read it. And overall, what I thought about the book, from a writing perspective, I felt like you could very much see the structure, how he had created this parallel situation, between, and I'm forgetting the name of the alien that they brought back with them. I have to go look that up. Sort of a reverse Messiah type of story where the Messiah could also be Satan, or it was either, he was just playing with that dichotomy with the main, not the main character, but the alien character that they brought back to Earth. So I need to go back and look up my names real quick. And for a non-Catholic like myself, to know that, again, from the foreword, that he had made some adjustment to church doctrine. It's just those those like disclaimers before I'd even read the book colored how I read the book.
Oh.
Ultimately, it gave me something to think about, you know. And then, but overall, I would give this more of, I'm not quite sure what my score is yet. I feel like it didn't go into enough depth of what religion really is for the human. And so when they had this discussion of how does science and faith belong together, I have a quote I'll read. You know, I just felt like maybe that was the point they were at the time that he read the book. But now I feel like there are deeper psychological things to discuss as well. So did I like the book? I'm glad I read it. And I mostly liked reading it. But just there's all this cloud of other stuff around it. So that's where I'm at the moment. But look forward to hearing what you all think.
Yeah. I thought the book was okay. I liked it in a lot of senses. I loved the discussion of the religion and the martyr complex that you brought up, and the comparisons of a particularly the viewpoint of Sanchez in the book, who's like our main character, and how he has this rigid Catholic upbringing, and he's trying to come to grips with this concept of this alien world being comparative to his Garden of Eden in his scripture. And I thought that was pretty fascinating for a book written back in the 50s. That's interesting that you brought up the forward and whether Blish was worried about how people would view some of this stuff, because I don't think people would blink at it nowadays. But back in the 1950s, especially in the United States, Catholicism was much more, a cultural force. And so I could see how he may think that some people could take some of this stuff the wrong way at that time. But all in all, I enjoyed the religious comparisons and stuff like that. I thought that was it was pretty interesting how Sanchez viewed this devil problem as a real thing, with this viewpoint of the aliens, and then having the alien come to Earth and be sort of this force this force for evil, that he thinks it's force for evil, even though the alien's just doing what the alien's going to do because of its circumstances. It's nurture, right. And so it was. I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of issues with the book, and I think we'll probably get into that. But there was a lot of stuff in here that I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's just move on from that and stick with the interesting stuff. But overall, I thought it was okay. I did enjoy a lot of things about it that were pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I maybe echo some of your thoughts, and maybe I'm slightly more negative about the book than either of you. But so. Excuse me. To start off with, I think it is an eminently readable book. I blew through it, and it was pretty entertaining to read. I even enjoyed the process of reading it. What I didn't enjoy is maybe, I guess, the points the author was trying to make. And this is one of those books that, for me, I think I really care about what it is the author is trying to say. And I don't think I got a good sense of that through the book. Like, there's not enough emotional complexity or grappling with the morality of his opinions for Sanchez or even Cleaver. They both seem so certain of what they think the right thing to do is, or at least their opinion of what should be done with Lithia, without um with what, like an overnight's worth of thought that that Sanchez had, and like however much time Cleaver put into it, but he seems to have no moral compunction about what they ultimately did there. It's he went and blew up the message tree, which is so not sacred exactly, but it's something super central to the life of the Lithians. So one, I think he's saying scientists are a certain way, priests are a certain way, and I think I found the forward you were mentioning, Layla, and he's quoting Sanchez as the hero of the novel. And he says in the end that he's not writing about a doctrine, he's writing about a person. So what it is that we're saying about the person, he's not really um what's what I'm looking for. I think he is grappling far too less with the certainty of his conclusions for me to go anywhere close to liking this book. Uh, I think the only moment of uncertainty he had was when he had that brief thought about whether uh, Ektverchi, is that how we're saying his name? When
Yeah.
he went to Lithia, he's wondering if Earth sent the serpent into Eden, if Lithia's the Eden that they're sending the serpent into. And that was it. But after that, he proceeded with the big exorcism that he did. And so that just like wasn't interesting to me in terms of like moral complexity and nuance. And as someone who's like not religious at all, this whole thing is felt to me like someone trying to talk themselves through very complex reasoning into believing that 2 plus 2 is 5, and then I don't know, tearing up a piece of paper in the end because they got angry about it or something. I don't know, like that's just what this felt like, and that it's not interesting to watch. It's just like, okay, you're not making sense. So that's where I'm at with this book. So it was fun to read, but the moral questions, in as much as they are addressed, they're not interesting to me. So philosophically and emotionally, morally, it's just not interesting. Susanna, your turn.
Yeah, I agree with you, except with the part that it was entertaining to read. I didn't think it was at all. I was just dragging myself. Couldn't get the narrator going. This edition has the foreword, and I usually don't read the foreword. But the first line caught my attention. This novel is not about Catholicism, and I was like, oh God. I am not Catholic. I am a pagan. I have my own moral compass. I talk to trees. I am a snake. So I felt a little bit, just a little bit. But the thing that then the immediate red flag was the premise when he's defining if they encounter a planet with intelligent life or with life, the sort of life that they would have if they would have souls. And how, I was like, are you high or something? This makes no sense. The premise made absolutely no sense. What is this? And I was tempted to just DNF here and there, but I persevered. And then I am I am an agnostic, yes, and don't blame the author. This is the proper disclaimer. Don't hate me. I just had an idea. Anyway, maybe, I don't know, 20 odd years ago I would find it funny, but now I don't. There's this quote that I was trying to find. It's something that like any sufficiently advanced incompetence is indistinguishable from malice. And that's how I feel about this book. Is incompetence either understanding Catholicism, of creating a plot, of creating a character to pull this, to pull off this plot. It's such an incompetence that it just comes across as malice, as evil. I was like, it's not fun to even contemplate a mind like this. And but and the prose, seriously, it was the same with Cities in Flight. I call it literary mansplaining. It's just it's a lecture all the way through. Uh, there's no room. But I was giving it the benefit of the doubt because the characters were preachers. So maybe, okay, so maybe he's doing it on purpose. And considering the forward, I gave all the leeway, all the benefit of the doubt. And there was one bit that I liked that gave me hope. It was on page 50 on this edition, when after this aside with the South American soap operas that were completely unnecessary. We can go into it later. But when he's saying that the novel even seemed to be shaping into sense for the first time, evidently the author had known exactly what he was doing every step of the way. Yet, or yes, it added up when one tried to view it without outrage, either at the persons involved, they were after all fictitious, only characters in the novel, or at the author, who, for all his mighty intellect, easily the greatest ever devoted to fiction in English, and perhaps in any language, had still to be pitied as much as the meanest victim of the evil one. Wow. What an ego. Still give it the benefit of the doubt, but it just went downhill from here. The conversation with the Pope, I was throwing the book at the wall. Just, I mean, it could have been a good story.
Yeah.
It's not so much the concept or the religion. It created this plot, but it didn't have enough knowledge or didn't care, I don't know, about either Catholicism or characterization, because he was just, here's what I want to say. Here's, lecturing, and creating this fake logic all throughout the book. There's this premise and then conclusion that has nothing to do with the premise. It's just because this is what I want to get across. And man, it's terrible. Just so terrible.
I love the joke about throwing popes. I thought that was hilarious.
No, it's when he was like, oh, want to exercise the whole planet? Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, why not? Let's kill all the snakes. And it's just so mean.
So when you DNF'd it the first time around, how far did you get before you stopped?
Pretty much at that part when he was talking to the Pope, I kind of gave up, and then went back, and part 2 it's even worse. So for a while I was like, am I even reading the same book? What the hell is going on? And it was interesting that they were underground. So basically, I think what he was trying to do was saying that, trying to twist everything around. So Earth, they were actually in hell. They were even underground. It wasn't particularly subtle. And the snake from Eden. I guess. Oh no, I'm not going to give any benefits of the doubt. It's just bad prose, bad storytelling, terrible storytelling. So.
Yeah. I struggle to give. Well, here's the thing. I do think, again, like I was saying earlier, I think some books are just a product of their time, and but using the framework of a specific faith already kind of narrows the audience, because not everyone will really want to grapple with those concepts. They may want to grapple with concepts they have, even if they're still Christian, but they're from a different denomination, and so it just, I think maybe unintentionally, you know, by using that framework, it might have narrowed who of the audience would really engage fully. Um, and of course, hindsight's 2020. Now, I see things more from a psychological point of view, and what are the human psychological reasons people reach for a higher power, no matter what you call it. And I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities in this book to. I think the premise is good. I like the general idea, but I think it's a bigger question than just Catholic doctrine. And so, because, yeah, what if you do find something you consider perfection? That's a great premise, but there's so much just tied into a lot of decisions, I think, made by the author. Like, why those specific characters? Why are you going to send someone, light years away that has issues like, what is his name now? Um, the one that took down the tree.
Cleaver.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, the
yeah. So that kind of indicates to me, in terms of maybe just from a storytelling perspective, did we get enough justification on why they sent this guy, who obviously has a lot of like issues to resolve
Yeah.
in
yeah.
his personality.
So racist,
Yeah.
and he's supposedly a scientist. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was weird to have a scientist with the shoot first, ask questions later
Yeah, yeah.
type of mentality.
And
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I really agree with you. I think this book is full of missed opportunities, especially in that big not debate. They just basically give speeches. I think in the beginning when they all want to decide what to do about Lithia, and who is it? I guess Michaelis is the one who points out that they have morality and an internal moral compass. They don't follow a religion. They don't have any external force giving them morality, and so this is a society that we can learn from. And so that set up for an excellent debate about whether you need religion for morality, but we got nowhere near that. We just, the guy said his piece, crickets, and then this guy said his piece, crickets, and then this guy won for some reason. And well, okay, so he didn't really win when he went back. Like, he was sort of the joke of I guess, the government. He wasn't a joke, but they sort of were as dismissive of it as Cleaver was. But the church took him seriously. But for him, I think, given that um, he is the priest and he is the hero of our story, there is no grappling with, okay, what if Michaelis is right? What if I am wrong? He's just so certain about his conclusions, which, I don't know, just sounded like a lot of circular reasoning to me. I don't know enough about the doctrine that he's basing off of, but
It's very circular.
yeah, thank you. So so, like, he's just drawing giant circles around himself without, like, coming out of it to grapple with the moral questions of, like,
Yeah.
this. So, because they have internal morality, they must be guided by. That's just so mind boggling to me. So, anyway, yeah, there was scope there for debate. I was thinking of what is this Brandon Sanderson book that everybody hates, but I really like. The first one, he wrote, Elantris. That one has a character who's a priest, and who's like really firm believer in his religion, but he has to do something that he's not comfortable with, and he grapples so hard with why his religion is asking him to do that. I was hoping for that kind of discussion here, but we got none. He just had like this certainty that this whole planet is evil. And my problem with that is, this is the kind of reasoning that led to, I guess, maybe guilt-free colonization and slavery, because these heathens, they have no souls, they don't follow God. So let's do what we want with them. So that is another question that we could have grappled with, like what this kind of reasoning meant historically. But no, sir, let's just blow up the planet in the end.
Yeah. There was a lot of discussion about whether these aliens had souls and stuff like that, and along those lines of thinking that you were just saying, and the only doubt that Sanchez had was whether or not he was being heretical to his own teachings, and that was the central part of his character that was that he was inner debating with, was whether he was heretical to the teachings of his church, not whether it was right to do certain things, right to colonize, or right to bring back an alien to Earth in the manner that they did in this strange box or whatever it was, and bring it up the way they did, and so isolated, and to the point where they finally thrust it out into society, and it has all these ramifications. None of that was his moral inner debate. It was whether or not he was heretical to the church teachings, and it was to me, it was amusing, because I kind of grew up around these church teachings and seen them firsthand, and it's spot on as far as his caricature of the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church in its circular reasoning. And I think that's what he means by he was worried about whether people would think that he was making fun of the church. And so I don't know if that means that he's a devout Catholic or Christian or whatever, and that he was worried that people were thought he was making fun of his own faith. But I think he should have gone for it rather than skirt around it and keep it centralized in Sanchez's thoughts as just a question of heretism or not. And like you guys were saying, discuss it more and get into it more. But you didn't.
Yeah, I think you touched something quite spot on. He created caricatures, not characters, because yes, these characters exist. This is a caricature of there are, religion is dogmatic, especially Catholicism is very dogmatic, and they find ways to any religion, they find ways to justify pretty much anything. And again, playing devil's advocate, it's a case of conscience. So I would say that they had no conscience, they had no moral inner compass. That's why they needed religion, and it had to be rigid, fixed, because they had none of these characters shows any sort of introspection. But there was so much to explore. Seriously, at times it was like I was reading, like beta reading. It felt like someone's unfinished manuscript, just going to a beta read to get some feedback before actually, because he was onto something. The way that he was describing the breach, what is his name, issues, the way that they were like, they have no greed, they have no concept of greed, they have no word for greed. What? And the pride that they felt, in their mission, and the fact that again they had no envy, they had no luxury, no usury, they couldn't understand that they had no sin, because they understood sin very well. They couldn't see them themselves. And there was a lot to explore there. And I think he was trying to touch those, but at the same time, I felt like he didn't even understand what made things and why there were things and how to weave them into the plot. So everything was just dictated, labeled all the way through. As a story, yeah, it lots of missed opportunities. But I can't help wondering, and we were talking about separating the author from the work, if the author himself understood this, because in this disclaimer he says he's an agnostic. But okay, even if you haven't lived in this environment, even if you hadn't been educated in this doctrine, do your research. Read the book of psychology alone would give you some insight of how these characters would interact and how they would try to deal and justify their actions. I don't know. It's a novel, not a lecture. So
Yeah, I agree with that. And I did a little bit of Googling just now because I had read he was agnostic. So I did a quick Google, was he formerly Catholic? And it said no, he had just researched Catholicism for this book. So I think that is ultimately the awkwardness that, I sense in some of it, or not going deeper and thinking, about motivations and that sort of thing. He would, like the foreword, I can't get over. I'm putting that with the book, that's like part of the book for me. But I think understanding that now about him, I'll give him a little bit. I can see how maybe he, as an agnostic, was trying to draw his image of what he saw religion to be. But the better choice would have just been to write about something he knows, and there was one more thought I had about that. I think you could, if you step back and just read it as like a basic structured story, I think he is letting us ask some questions, about firm belief and faith and so on. But this is just a lesson, I think, from a writing perspective, that write what you know. And we all know these books. I mean, there's a kerfluffle every once in a while about someone from, one part of the world has written a book about, another part of the world, and pretty much are picking up all the stereotypes of that world. So now I'm wondering, is he in a sense picking up all the stereotypes of Catholicism, and, so again, it just leads me to think about that. I did kind of like the idea, if you read it like he's actually criticizing everybody, it comes out better. Like, yeah, they bring this alien from another world. One of them's a biologist, I forget which, but surely scientists know you can't take anything out of its natural environment and make it grow somewhere else without extensive supplementation of whatever that organism is. So, but still, they just jerk this thing out and bring it over here. Chatexa was his name. So, if he was writing it as a full-blown critique, I'll give him that. But he don't co-opt someone else's faith, and maybe maybe he's used more stereotypes than I know, because now I'm kind of questioning that. So I know, Jared, if you feel that way, being more familiar with Catholicism.
No, I think he just touched on the surface of a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So there's nothing in depth in here. I mean, he mentions, he has a lot of allusions to the Garden of Eden and the whole the knowledge off the tree and stuff like that. And it's all surface level stuff as far as that stuff goes. And he when the creature, what's his name? What was his name? Egverts or whatever his name was.
Chautauqua.
Um,
Ectovirgin, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Text as the father, I think. Yeah.
oh, right.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when he starts doing the I forget what it was that he did. He did the whole trying to get people together and worked up and doing the whole protesting. Um, it reminded me a lot of Robert Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land, when the guy comes to Earth from Mars, and he gets this following, and he gets and it disrupts the society that against the wishes of the people who brought him here. And I think Heinlein might have taken a cue from this to explore that aspect of how it would affect the society and the religions that are there in place. And so that kind of echoes the how the Jesus affected the Roman society at the time that that was going on in back then, and how that's portrayed in the Bible and the New Testament. But it falls flat because of the way that it's handled at the end here, and the whole exorcism thing was really weird, and I didn't quite understand what exactly happened at the very end of the book there. Um, but he was exploring that a little bit, and it's, like I said, very surface level stuff. And but I think some of the ideas that he had moved on in science fiction, like I said, and brought about other explorations, like Heinlein did with Stranger in a Strange Land, and like Arthur Clarke did with Childhood's End, when in his book, when he explores when aliens come to Earth and happen to look like the devils that we have in our religion, and they're not. They're actually just aliens, and they're advanced creatures, and and so I think that imagery sticks with us as part of our collective unconsciousness, and where that imagery comes from. Maybe it was from Lithia, maybe it was from exposure to that, and so there's a lot to think about there. But like you guys were saying, Blish doesn't really delve that deeply into it. He's just throwing the stuff on the paper and writing it out. So there's a lot. I think just the ideas that he has are worth talking about, but it would be cooler if they were put together a little better, or as a better story. But I don't know. I still enjoyed reading it and thinking about those things.
Something on the funny side, the fact that the alien came and grew up to Earth, and looking at it from a 2026 point of view, became like this podcaster. He became like,
Yeah.
that was riling up the masses. And I'm like, well, that's pretty prescient. So what do you all in general think about that? It's as if at that point I was thinking, is he saying the aliens come and corrupted Earth? Like, and so they sent the alien back, and it's like they sent, I'm getting biblical here, I guess, but did they send the apple back to the Garden of Eden because now he has knowledge they did not have before, and he's probably going to wreak havoc across, the planet because he's angry, because he's, and
That was unresolved. That was like kind of
he's
left.
unresolved.
Yeah. There was quite a bit unresolved, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just enjoyed that part.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me. I think what you said, Layla, about maybe reading the whole thing as a critique, I did wonder that, and I don't know what the answer is. My inclination is to think that it's not written like that, but it makes for a vastly more interesting book if it is. Um, for instance, the whole thing with Cleaver and what he wants to do on Lithia. We're taking this like perfect, beautiful place and breaking it up because we want to build bombs. There's so much commentary there about, warmongering and human greed, whatever that we can get into in that regard. The whole thing with this nice seeming father being so embroiled in his certainty of his religion that, he's quite happy to blow up a planet and feel no compunction about it. That could be another source for commentary or criticism. And so if I read it like that, it feels like an immensely clever book. But here's the thing, before I give it that credit, I want to know if that's what the author intended. From the forward, seems like not. But
Yeah.
going back to what you said about extroverty, I think that is, again, an interesting thing that could have played into potentially discussing the moral complexity of what the father is grappling with, right? Is it are we is Earth corrupting extroverty because the Lithians have no sense of sin. They basically just have what seems like a utopian society and are happily living there. And as much as you have happiness without the opposite, they have a peaceful, sweet society. And then one guy from there comes here and he's human and he's like riling up the crowds, but he's not introducing new concepts. He's just making use of the anger that exists. So he's not corrupting the earth people. He's more motivating them to fight for themselves, if anything, maybe, or maybe making use of the underlying anger for his own entertainment. Yes, but also he's not using anything that's not already there, which again I think makes for a great debate and conversation about exactly what's going on, just by itself, but also in terms of, I guess, the questions that Father Sanchez is grappling with, because he could question whether Lithia, I think there is no doubt in his mind that this Lithian is corrupting the Earthers, but it could be the other way around because Lithians had no concept of sin, and then, but Ectovachi is such a jerk, maybe the Earth people corrupted him. So there was some scope for discussion there.
That
But yeah,
reminds me of what, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, go ahead. That's it.
No, that reminds me of what Jared said in the beginning about nurture. Did you say something about nature versus nurture? And
Briefly, yeah.
yeah, so that does
He was definitely nurtured in a different way than his alien forebears.
right. And that does kind of speak to if everyone's born with a natural morality, is the environment. I mean, that's one argument,
Yeah.
that it's the environment that helps contribute to how people turn out. So it could be a great book of critique, but the forward killed it for me before I started.
Yes, exactly.
Do not explain your book before I read it,
Yeah, if it felt the need to explain very badly, because
Yeah.
like I said, the premise was completely absurd. There was like, you really need to justify this? Oh gosh, what is coming? So yeah, it's kind of a cheap move.
Mhm.
Why do that? Because okay, you wrote this, so we are here discussing and criticizing, and it's basically his way of saying, well, you just didn't get it. That's on you. Again, does not does not impress.
Yeah. Well, it won a Hugo, so that means there's hope for all of us.
So did Neil Gaiman. We were talking before, and shouldn't have said out of context because people would get the wrong idea. If anything, I'm criticizing the award. And
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You could, like, he could have brought up a lot of, like you said, Layla, a lot of psychological points that he could have brought up in the book because he could have, or actually, I would say philosophical points, because he could have asked the questions of whether or not a society like the Lithians, and a society that Sanchez comes from, where do they place moral responsibility? Basically, does like Sanchez looks to an outside source for that morality, for that moral responsibility, and these aliens do not. They look to reason for this moral responsibility, and there could have been a really in-depth exploration of that, but all he did was just give us the surface levels of, the aliens have reason and he has faith, and that's it. And then Sanchez is gonna exorcise the alien from the earth, or the
Is that the doctrine though? Like, is that the religious doctrine that I'm curious? Is reason attributed to the devil?
That's an interesting question. Depends on who you ask.
I mean, that's
No.
what Lost seems to think, the show, but
no, not necessarily. No, he was using concepts or ideas that haven't been in use since the Inquisition, right? That even Catholic, even Christianity already dissolved these ideas. But basically, the idea that only God can create. If or if Satan can create as well. But this has been debated again for 700 years, and it just, it sounds like he just read about it. Oh, people used to question this thing, and he just inserts completely out of context.
Interesting.
Okay, again, if it's for the sake of the plot, great, yeah. Now, have the news, take it to a different conclusion, or approach it from a different direction. It's a good theory, it's a good idea. But no, he just put it there because it sounded fine.
Sorry, go ahead, Layla.
Oh, I think it's about characterization. Yeah, as we've been saying, and he has, he had the perfect right to write the book. I'm not saying he shouldn't have written it, or if he wants to research Catholicism, write a sci-fi book, okay. But I think again, this may have garnered the attention it did at the time because it was breaking new ground. It was published in the late 50s or mid 50s, maybe, right after World War II, all of these new scientific things happening. And this was a way for him to say, oh, how does all this new stuff fit in with faith? And him being an agnostic, I do think, the more I'm thinking about it now, there was critique intended. Yeah.
Well, maybe it just, it's like the equivalent of rage clickbait post. He just wanted people to talk about the book,
Yeah.
and he succeeded. Yes,
Yeah.
So-
that I can respect, actually, if it was the intention.
Rage bait. Yeah, like I think any approach to this book other than this guy's the hero and I vaguely agree with him or have no opinion of what he did or what he believes, anything other than that I think makes for a good reading of the book. But it seems from the foreword that that's all it is. Like he says in the last line that he's agnostic, he has no opinion on these things, he just wants to write about this guy. So if you and as and I feel like that's sort of failing the book a little bit. But sorry, I had another quote unquote technical question. What is the heresy that he committed? Is it that he's attributing the power of creation to Satan? Is that the heresy? Like what was it that he was going to be inquisitioned for?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, just the very notion that, because if they were evil, why would God create them? So that meant the devil would have created them, Satan has created them, but Satan can create. So I can't even be thinking those things because Satan is not supposed to be all powerful as God, and blah, blah.
Yeah.
Got it. And he used the word, like the word he was capitalized, and he was talking about the adversary. So that was curious to me that even the references to Satan were capitalized with the same way that you would God. So is that how it's done in general, or is this something that Blish did?
When is referred to as the adversary, which again is outdated. He was just picking stuff from different time periods and in different schools of the religion, just to throw them in, and other religions. And even when he was establishing the time period of Earth, I was trying to find, because I rolled my eyes. He used the concept that is just used in the Bible. It's like these guys are scientists and they are guiding their geological time frame as it is in the Bible. Okay, I roll, continue. But even just nothing had up. Nothing made sense. He was just speaking and choosing what he thought he would fit, and of course it would fit.
Yeah.
Maybe this is why we started getting sci-fi writing with frameworks that the authors had developed themselves. I don't know if there's a direct influence, but we have the Bene Gesserit because of that, and we have the Force because of that. It's kind of we trust the Force. We don't define it. I don't know, but that's kind of interesting that it these days I almost expect that if someone's going to have like some kind of religious framework, it's in sci-fi, it's going to have some kind of author created framework. We seem to appreciate that, and it can still have a comparison to our real religions, where some things might feel familiar, but it's not that we're identifying them as that religion in space. Although, I do think there's room for that. There is room for that, but and maybe there's something out there like that already.
With Christianity in space, you mean? Like, or real world religion?
Any religion.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just one question, and it just occurred to me. It occurred while I was reading, and then I kind of forgot. Why were they all priests of which? I mean, they were all scientists, but they were all men of the cloth. So why? Because the two things generally don't add up. I'm not saying that you can't be a scientist and have faith. Many people do. That's not the point. But why was this team the explorers? Just that concept was a bit.
I thought Sanchez was the only religious person on the team.
No.
Cleaver was an atheist, I think, or he laughed.
Was he?
Yeah, he laughed at Sanchez and his religious ideas.
Yeah, there was a mix.
Yeah, I think he's
I kind of got
like,
the impression they were all somehow related to. So my bad.
Yeah, but on the point of Blish is taking concepts from wherever in the history of Catholicism, there was a point in time when the Catholic Church was actually at the forefront of some scientific discovery back, way back when, and so if he's just borrowing that concept and throwing a priest onto the team in order to represent that in the future, that's probably what he did. But
yeah. And the father's apparently also a biologist, so he's a scientist in his own right, supposedly. Yeah. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to bring to the group about like sort of the specifics in the story, I think in his reasoning, and I'm hoping I understood this right, Father Sanchez, he says that he basically says that Lithia's moral doctrine is kind of the exact opposite of Christianity, or maybe like similar to Christianity, and it follows no other world religion. Like he sort of rules out the other religions, including Hindi, which is a language and not a religion. But
I know, that was like, ouch.
So he like says that this is the moral doctrine and it matches one-on-one. I forget if he says it's the same or the opposite, but something he says is like an exact one-on-one correlation with Christianity, so it must mean. So I want to ask what you thought of that. Is it possible? I feel like, and I was talking to my husband about this, and he phrased it really well. I thought he said like the good stuff in all religions are exactly the same. The bad stuff is bad in its own way, like doing like the Tolstoy thing. But so and I agree with that. I think the underlying moral principles of goodness that all the religions teach us, I think they're similar. Maybe the negative stuff, each one has its own thing that we can maybe discuss. But so that was one of the first things that I started to rail at, apart from like a few quotes that Sanchez had about why faith is better than science. But those were eye rolls. This one was like, what the hell are you talking about? So I was curious what the group thinks, if that even starts to make sense. Is that something you agree with?
Well, it made no sense, but yeah, there's such a blending of ideas and thoughts in all the religions of our world that to sit there and say, oh, these aliens just happen to be exactly like the Catholic religion, so all the other ones must be wrong. I definitely was like, oh boy, here we go. There's a high level of ridiculousness when it comes to the speculation there. But there was quite a few areas in this book where I just turned the page and was like, okay, let's move on to hopefully a better discussion with the next page.
Yeah.
Again, he put it very well here. I think page 36 when he was talking about he's talking with Michaelis. There's a lot. He was comparing Lithia to the rainforest or something. I don't know. Or Brazil. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot we don't know about central Brazil, let alone Mars or the moon. And Agnosky replied, nothing essential. What we know about the periphery of Brazil gives us all the clues we need about the interior. Even to those fish that eat people. What are they? Piranhas. Right. That says it all. I think. Again, he was making excuses, like just like the quote I read in the beginning. He knew what he was doing and he was making excuses. So any criticism about his lack of competence writing a story, that was clearly biting more than he could chew, in my opinion, then could be, invalidated, because people were like, no, I knew, no, you were just not getting, like, that annoyed me. But he mixed a lot. I think I was trying to find, because at some point, and that was towards the end, I was scheming by this point. But he said something about the Garden of Allah, and I was like, why? How did we get to Allah now? I remember thinking that. How did we get here? So yeah, it's a mix. It's a complete mix, and
That's funny. I remember that. Yeah, that just kind of popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, he did mention Yggdrasil too, the Norse tree.
Oh yeah, when he's
At one
comparing
point.
the tree to it, and I'm like,
Yeah, the knowledge of good and evil. Yeah. Just gotta throw that in there.
Cool. Anything else that we should discuss about this book?
I mean, like every book in this series, no, seriously. Most of them I would never pick to read ever. So I'm just reading because of the sci-fi, because of this group, and I'm very grateful for it. But one thing, it's rare, the book, that it's kind of just meh, that you just go. I mean, there were a few that you were just, yeah, it's okay. Most of them, it's really a love or hate. At least with me, I either, love them, it's the best thing ever, this goes on the shelf, or it's like, I don't want to look at this book again. So yeah, this one is one of them. Live and learn, learn how not to do things. But it's always an experience. So yeah, I am glad. Thank you, Layla, for, we had to delay the our meeting, so I had 2 extra weeks to give it another try and to learn a few more things of how not to do things.
I'm glad I read it for many reasons. And I might do a little more research, but I can see how it can be read as a critique, but ultimately it doesn't land.
Yes. If you find anything that says, yes, this is a critique, please pass it along to me.
Oh.
I would like to understand. What about you, Jared? Any closing thoughts?
Nope. What's up next?
Excellent. The Centauri Device by M. John Harrison. That's what we're reading next. It is unfortunately not available.
For this
on
one? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll enjoy that. It's not available on Kindle, unfortunately, so I can't read it at bedtime, but that's a problem I'll deal with off screen. But if you'd like to join us once again, please check out the Page Chewing Forum for Centauri Device next month, and then Dr. Blood Money after, and Nonstop by Brian Aldiss in June, I believe, was that book for. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.